And then I had my own encounter, again in 2005. I was off duty, sitting in my backyard with two other police officers when we noticed what first appeared to be a satellite in orbit, but it wasn't acting like a satellite. The light was strange, it was pulsing, and then it started to maneuver. It dropped in elevation. At times it would vanish from view and reappear in a different location in the sky, and eventually it reappeared 200 feet over my house. It was a 30-foot diameter sphere of light. My friends and I watched it for a moment, and then it gently accelerated and traveled up and disappeared into the stars.
What did you do when you first experienced? Because what you saw, right? You saw it happen like right out of your base.
Correct.
So tell me what you did after you saw that. What was like your next move? And I want to hear what your experience was.
My next move, I went into my house after it left. I made sure no one had been abducted, and I picked up the landline. I called the Security Forces Command Center. I reported it. I requested that they give me a call back and make notifications up the chain of command. I got a call back in about 15 minutes. They reported that the weather station reported no balloons or aircraft, nothing on radar, no aircraft inbound or outbound. So I got that notification. And then within the following day or two, me and the other witnesses wrote statements. We prepared a report, and then we filed all that information.
What do you and your friends think about it today? You all have talked about it. Yeah. I mean, so what do you think about your experience as a collective group? That'll be my last question, Madam Chairwoman.
I mean, we've been talking about this for 20 years. We don't know what we saw. What we saw changed our lives and the way we think about everything. It was incredibly profound. The object I saw, I don't even know if it was an object. It was a light. It was an orb. It didn't look like a craft, but it did look solid. And that's what we talk about. We noticed the object, and this was a pattern across all the encounters. Someone would see a light. They would pay attention to the light. And then the object responds. It performs for you. And then they come down and they investigate you. So it's almost like they're curious. So that's the thing we primarily talk about. Why did it come after we noticed it? Maybe it noticed us after we noticed it.
Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. That was a clip from last Tuesday's UAP Task Force hearing, and we were listening there to Jeffrey Nuccetelli. He's Air Force veteran who was talking about his experiences on Vandenberg Air Force Base in California back in 2005. Actually, that was a clip from his opening statement, as well as a clip from later in the hearing when he was answering questions from one of the members of the UAP caucus, the bipartisan group that's very interested in this subject, Jared Moskowitz. So I put some clips there together from the beginning of the hearing and then from later on under questioning, and that's what you just saw there. And leading up to this, he was talking about some of the things that he was hearing about while he was on this base in 2003 to 2005. And then also he provided that what he was talking about there was his own personal experience, and then you heard him answering those questions from Jared Moskowitz. All of this, the people that these whistleblowers, these veterans that were, and actually one of them is active duty, Alexandro Wiggins. He's one of the other whistleblowers that was talking there. He's still in the Navy. He's still active duty chief in the Navy. And then another one was Dylan Borland. He's a Air Force vet. He also was speaking at that. And we're going to talk about some of the things that these people were saying during this hearing, which I believe all of this, the fact that these guys are there talking about their experiences, things that they encountered themselves, right? That wasn't just other stories that they're hearing. They saw things themselves. So you have three people under oath telling you about weird stuff that they're seeing and how their superiors react, right? And I think that all of these things, right? You think about the George Knapp, the investigative journalist who talked there. I did a show about him. Part 2 was about him. Part 1 was about the video that was leaked to Representative Eric Burleson that shows some object off the coast of Yemen in 2024 that gets shot at by a Hellfire missile and keeps on going. And not only does it keep on going, but 3 other objects evacuated from it and followed along, right? So that's what makes this the most significant UFO hearing ever to take place in Washington, as far as I'm concerned, to date. I mean, hopefully we'll get some better ones as it continues, but this one most certainly I think is the most significant up to this point. And it was because of all of these reasons. The 3 whistleblowers under oath talking about their veterans, and one of them still active duty, talking about these weird things that they're experiencing while they're there. And then you have George Knapp talking about everything, right? Going through the history, talking about the cover-up, and then of course we were shown some evidence of what could be non-human intelligent controlled craft. Not just the stuff that Burleson released, but also Wiggins during his testimony, as we'll see, he had some video of this craft, that one of the craft that he saw when he was during his time in the service as well. Anyway, let's continue. In the next segment, we're going to see some more from. This is from Nuccetelli's opening statement before he talked about his own experiences. This is some of the stuff leading up to his personal experience while he was on that base. Check this out.
Between 2003 and 2005, 5 UAP incidents occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base. The incursions began on October 14th, 2003, when Boeing contractors reported a massive glowing red square silently hovering over 2 missile defense sites. After several minutes, it drifted further east onto the base and vanished over the hills. Later that night, while I was on duty, security guards at a critical launch site reported a bright, fast-moving object over the ocean. I responded to the incident. Chaos ensued over the radio as the object approached rapidly. I heard my friends screaming, "It's coming right at us, it's coming right for us, and now it's right here." Moments later, I heard them say that it had shot off and was gone. When I arrived on scene, I talked to 5 shaken witnesses who described a massive triangular craft larger than a football field that hovered silently for about 45 seconds over their entry control point before shooting away at impossible speed. About a week later, another patrol reported a light over the ocean, behaving erratically. Believing it might be an unannounced aircraft, they declared an emergency, and an armed response force responded. Before the forces could arrive, the object descended and either landed or hovered on our flight line, and then took off again at impossible speed. The witnesses to this event were threatened and intimidated afterward. They were told to keep quiet and think about what they were reporting. After that, things did get quiet until about 2005, when another patrol reported a massive triangular craft larger than a C-130 silently floating over the installation. He watched it for a few minutes. It traveled west and disappeared into the night.
So there you have Nuccetelli talking about reports that he was hearing from other people, saying that they're seeing not a gigantic craft. In one case, there was a craft that was bigger than a football field. In another case, there was a gigantic triangular craft. And in another incident, the witnesses were threatened and told to shut up about it and not say anything. Now, the next segment, we're going to hear from Wiggins, from Alexandro Wiggins, actually active duty Navy right now. Here's what he had to say during that hearing. Check it out.
My name is Alexandro Wiggins. I'm an active duty U.S. Navy Operations Specialist, Senior Chief Petty Officer, father of 3, and dedicated American testifying today in my personal capacity. The views I share are my own, and I do not represent the official positions of the Department of the Navy or any subordinate organization. On the evening of February 15th, 2023, at approximately 19:15 PST, in the Whiskey 291 warning area off the coast of Southern California, I was serving on board USS Jackson. During that period, I moved between the Interior Communications Center, ICC-1, and the bridge wing, correlating the sensor picture with visual observations, part of my routine responsibilities for surface and air picture management. What I observed and what our crew recorded was not consistent with conventional aircraft or drones as they appear on our system. A self-luminous tic-tac shaped object emerged from the ocean before linking up with 3 other similar objects. The 4 then disappeared simultaneously with a high synchronized near instantaneous acceleration. I observed no sonic boom and no conventional propulsion signatures, no exhaust plume, No control surface articulation on the Sapphire image system. Shortly after the synchronized departure, radar tracks dropped. These observations were multi-sensor and recorded inside of ICC-1 with time location overlay visible in our source frames that have been made public by journalists. From my experience operating in this region over many years and consistent with our public characterized encounters, unidentified objects reoccur in United States operation areas off Southern California. That fact alone does not tell us what they are.
So there we have Alexandro Wiggins' experience while aboard the USS Jackson off the coast of California. And now we get to Dylan Borland. He seemed like he had an experience. He has a very impressive resume. He's a United States Air Force vet, and he talks about his credentials before he starts talking here, and it's very impressive. But yet he's because he's a whistleblower, because of the things he experienced and the things he's talking about now, his going to Arrow, all these things, nothing seems to be working out for him. It seems like he's blacklisted now because he wants to tell the truth about his experiences with this situation with UAP. Check this out.
My name is Dylan Borland, a former 1N1 geospatial intelligence specialist for the United States Air Force in an active duty enlisted capacity from 2010 to 2013. I've also been employed with BAE Systems and Intrepid Solutions as a senior analyst, expert in analyzing video, radar, and advanced electro-optical imagery for official identification of aerial order of battle, as well as naval and ground order of battle. I'm a federal whistleblower, having testified to both the ICIG and Arrow with direct firsthand knowledge of and experience with craft and technologies that are not ours and are reportedly operating without congressional oversight. Because of my direct knowledge of the reality of certain legacy UAP programs, my professional career was deliberately obstructed, and I have endured sustained reprisals from government agencies for over a decade. From 2011 to 2013, I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, conducting 24-hour operations via manned and unmanned aerial vehicles for Special Operations Forces in the global war on terror. During the summer of 2012, my team was on standby for weather, and I returned to my barracks on base, and at approximately 01:30, I saw an approximately 100-foot equilateral triangle take off from near the NASA hangar on the base. The craft interfered with my telephone, did not have any sound, and the material it was made of appeared fluid or dynamic. I was under this triangular craft for a few minutes, and then it rapidly ascended to commercial jet level in seconds, displaying zero kinetic disturbance, sound, or wind displacement. Some years after that experience, I was further exposed to classified information from the UAP legacy crash retrieval program through a sensitive position I held within a special access program. During this time, intelligence officers approached me in fear for their own careers, citing misconduct within these programs and similar retaliation that I was already enduring at this time. These issues include medical malpractice committed by Veterans Affairs staff, denial of work I performed while enlisted in the United States Air Force, forged and manipulated employment documents, workplace harassment, including colleagues being directed to not speak with me, manipulation of my security clearance by certain agencies, blocking, delaying, and ultimately removing my ability to be employed within the IC. The retaliation I face and the retaliation against individuals I know who worked in these programs is what convinced me in March 2023 to become a whistleblower. I came forward out of concern for people's lives and to ensure I did everything I could to let our elected representatives know the truth about what is really happening in the executive branch. At the end of March 2023, I agreed to meet with Arrow following the suggestion of other federal officials believing it was what our nation required of me. I had reservations with Arrow due to assessments they were reporting publicly at the time as a misrepresentation of the truth. Because of these concerns, I did not share sources and methods information in order to protect current and former federal personnel who had firsthand exposure to technologies of unknown origin. I did not want anyone to face further retaliation beyond what they had already endured. And unfortunately, a staff member ended up getting in some trouble because of that. After David Grush testified under oath in the summer of 2023 and provided historic disclosure, I was then asked to go to the ICIG and did so in August 2023. It was very clear early on during my intake interview, which was video recorded under oath, that the objective was to solely assess how much I know and not move forward with an investigation with new information I provided them. The aftermath of that IG complaint still troubles me to this day. Since my ICIG complaint, I've been prevented from resuming prior employment and can confirm I'm still blacklisted from certain agencies within the intelligence community. In addition, multiple agencies attempted phishing attacks to assess what I had divulged to the Inspector General, including being asked to disclose details of my ICIG complaint during a CI polygraph for a position unrelated to UFO UAP matters as recently as November 2024. As I sit before you today, I and many other whistleblowers have no job prospects, no foreseeable professional future in a nation every single one of us came forward to defend. Numerous individuals have come forward in various ways to reveal the truth of the UAP reality as patriots and defenders of our nation. Yet many feel discarded, isolated, hopeless, separated from the country they serve. Efforts to rectify this situation for all whistleblowers have been difficult and troubling. And to my fellow whistleblowers and officials who know this information, I offer you my apology, something that I have never gotten, and I'm giving it to you. I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, an oath that demands truth and transparency for our democratic republic to function. Each day, these truths remain hidden from our citizens. Humanity drifts further from the principles our nation was founded to uphold. Each day, victims of crimes committed by agencies and companies maintaining this secrecy are denied justice is another day our Constitution is shredded. In 2023, Patriots provided this committee and the executive branch with undeniable proof of the UAP reality, and I commend your continued commitment. The future of humanity is one which we either travel to the stars or regress to the Stone Age with this technology. My career has been to deliver critical information to decision makers. Your role as elected by your representatives is to act on it. The time to act is now.
After that, Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who's the chairwoman of the task force, she asked Borland to expand on his experiences, as well as his experience with trying to speak with ARROW, the Alden Maine Anomaly Resolution Office. And it just seems like Borland walked into a nightmare situation with this. When you listen to this guy talking, right, it just seems like his life has become an absolute nightmare because he saw a UFO when he was in the service and he wanted to talk about it. See, this is how bad things are. This is how the Pentagon has been operating for all these decades when it comes to this thing. If you want to try to talk about this, well, we're going to make your life hell. And here, this is more proof to that end. Check it out.
Mr. Borland, in your testimony, you described witnessing large triangular craft while stationed at Langley Air Force Base in 2012. Can you explain what you observed in terms of size, behavior, and why you're confident it was not conventional technology?
Great question, ma'am. So on the base, I lived in the barracks. There was a little smoke pit outside. I was there on the telephone and looking across to the flight line, and I see a white light pop up and stop about 100 feet in the air. I thought it was a weather balloon. I've seen tests from there before, weeknight, normal thing, not surprising. I actually finished my cigarette and I began walking up towards the flight line. There is a track, and because I was on 3 months of night work, I would walk the track at night when we were weather down. And as I began walking towards the light, towards the flight line and the track, the light then flies across the base, across the flight line, and as it flies to me, a triangle manifests around the light. I can't tell you if it's active camouflage. I can't tell you if it appeared around the light, but I can tell you that it was a white light, and then it was a triangle. It stopped about 100 feet in front of me and approximately 100 feet above me. My telephone got extremely hot, completely froze, dead. I remember how thick it was. It was between 1 to 2 stories thick, equilateral triangle. I could never see the top of it, and the edges were 90 degrees. There were 4 lights in total, 1 light on each corner and a larger light in the center, 2 to 3 times the size of the corner lights. But what was really odd was the outside. The best way to describe it is like looking at a James Webb telescope picture, where you have the colors and then the black background. So the craft itself was this black metallic flake paint, but on top of the craft was this gold, lava, plasma, some type of fluid going over and around the craft. I'm under this for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then the center light flashes 2 to 3 times, no sound, immediately shoots up to commercial jet level minimum, in my opinion. And I immediately feel static electricity all over my body. And then I smell the smell of after a thunderstorm or lightning storm, that really strong summer thunderstorm smell. Gets up to flight level. I'm trying to get my phone reset, and I can only see the center light at this point. If I didn't actually see it take off, I would have thought it was a star. And then it hovers up there and it begins to slowly move due east out over the Atlantic Ocean. I finally got my phone reset. The entire thing was about, from the time I saw the light pop up near the hangar until it took off out over the ocean, was about 15 minutes.
And following up to that question, after you disclose this information to the intelligence community inspector general, you're subject to phishing attempts and job blacklisting. How widespread do you think this is across the intelligence community for those who raise concerns regarding UAP programs?
It's a difficult question to answer. I think prior to David Grush and people beginning this process of bringing people into awareness of the reality of these programs and certain things people have witnessed, probably extremely widespread. I think today there's still an issue, but because people are able to come before you and people are speaking out, I think it has been somewhat less. I would hope, though, that people would, because if this goes back into closed doors, this is going to get really ugly.
What type of behavior have you witnessed from former Aero director Sean Kilpatrick as well as his staff in relate to this information you provided to them? Did they ever try to classify this information as non-human technology?
Good question. The problem with this is that I know what I experienced firsthand, and I know other things. I think the staff at Aero that I met with in March of 2023, I think they were good people doing the job they were told to do. I did not meet with Kirkpatrick. He was either not present or did not want to meet me that day. However, they did classify information about the reality of this subject. And it was very concerning because in my Aero MFR, they had actually referenced a former staff member that was the one who told me to go there, and they probably shouldn't have done that.
And real quick before my time is up, and we might go to second round of questioning just so you're all aware, how important, given everything that you've seen and experienced, is the UAP Disclosure Act of 2025 in restoring both public accountability and trust?
I think very important. I would hope, though, that the 7-year window could be shrunk, my opinion, but very important. The truth needs to be known.
Now, in the next segment, Jared Moskowitz questions some of the asked the whistleblowers with questions with regard to how they felt about this. But he also points out I really like that he did this. He pointed out that he knows we're being lied to. He pointed to it's a clear fact. The government, somebody in the government is holding on to these secrets and they're lying to us. And Moskowitz says that. And then he goes on to question Wiggins, and then after that Borland, asking them how they felt about their experiences. And I thought this was an interesting line of questioning. He also questioned Nuccetelli, but I actually had included a lot of that stuff in the opening segment. So we'll skip that part for this section right here. But just check out the stuff that's the back and forth going on here. I thought this was really interesting to hear these people telling you how they felt when they saw these things. I think this is very important. Check it out.
I don't really know what is true. I don't know on this subject. But I do know when we're being lied to. And we are definitely being lied to. There's just no doubt about that. Mr. Wiggins, I want to talk to you. I find your background and testimony compelling. When you first saw what you were looking at, what were your first thoughts?
My first thoughts were, I think everything that I was told and taught as a kid and as growing adult no longer was applicable. If I'm able to see something that I thought defies gravity in such a way, then what else could be possible? That was my first thought.
So did you think what you were looking at was a weapons program that you were unaware of, or did you think what you were looking at was obviously some extraterrestrial piece of technology?
Neither one of those crossed my mind. It was just.
How about now? What do you think it is now?
I'm not the expert. I think it. I want to be as skeptical as everyone else and just hope to know the information.
Anyone in the U.S. government tell you what you were looking at to try to dissuade you from what you thought it was?
No.
So no one was like, oh, there was some anomaly with the technology. No one from the government did that?
No one.
How do you think you were treated when you reported this information or have talked about, the Tic Tac video is well out there. It's well reported. How were you treated?
I've had no pushback at all. I haven't had anyone reach out to me or try to, dissuade me in either direction, militarily speaking. So I was treated fair, and I appreciate the Navy itself with assisting me with coming here to being able to testify.
That's good. So what do you think the American people should take away from watching your video, right? Because when we watch it, obviously, right, we've never seen anything like that. It defies what we know to be technologically possible. What are we supposed to think? Someone's lying about something. Someone's hiding something, right? That's not normal what you looked at.
I think what the American people should think when seeing that video, along with others before me, is that there is something out there, and we should know as the people what it is.
Right. And so let's eliminate possibilities. So they didn't come to you and say there was a technological error with what you were looking at. So we put that aside, right? They didn't say it was broken. So we look at that and we see something. So it's either a weapons program being reverse engineered by our governments or other governments, or it's nobody's government and it's not from here. Those are it. You agree with that assessment?
I agree. One or the other.
Mr. Borland, when you first experienced what you were looking at, what did you do next? Like, what was your next step after it had passed and you were done?
I actually kind of laughed to myself and said, okay, so this exists as well. Worked in enough programs, been exposed to enough that I was like, okay, so this is a real thing. I went back, walked the track, talked with a couple of my friends about it. I did talk with some of my coworkers, one in particular, which I thought was a joke, and it definitely wasn't, was like, you probably should never say this to anybody. And then what happened to me happened.
I thought the next exchange here between Representative Nancy Mace and Borland, it was somewhat chilling. I mean, the question is, she asked, are you afraid for your life because of being a whistleblower? I guess, we'll see what Borland says here, but I think any whistleblower would be afraid for their lives in this climate of secrecy that they got going on there in the Pentagon when it comes to UFOs and the non-human intelligent presence on Earth. Check this out.
Are you scared for your safety?
That's a complicated question. So being here today, if I say the wrong word, technically I can be charged with espionage. Espionage is a death penalty. Whistleblowers have faced it. John Kiriakou, for example. I am not scared for my physical safety in the sense of an agency or company coming to kill me, but I have no job. My career has been tarnished. I'm unemployed, living off of unemployment for the next 3-4 weeks until that's gone. So it's a complicated question.
Have there been stories leaked about your life to try to discredit you in the public eye?
As of now, I don't know.
We know they did that to Mr. Grush.
I am aware. Yes, ma'am.
They leaked his private medical information, horrific things.
It is.
Okay, you said in your testimony earlier with the chairwoman, you know other things. I guess that has to be mentioned in a skiff.
It would.
The other things.
It would, pending I'm even legally allowed to speak on, and the people in the room are even legally allowed to hear it.
And now for this final clip that I'm going to show. This is Representative Elijah Crane, which he talks about how his mind has changed on the subject of UFOs, listening to people like these whistleblowers, and I found that interesting. But then he asked them a question about what are they were they concerned? Are they concerned about going public with this stuff? Were they concerned about being whistleblowers? And listen carefully to what each of these guys says here, and then I want to talk about it when after this clip is played through. Check this out.
In the effort of transparency here, I got to admit to the witnesses that, growing up, I really never believed in UFOs or any of this stuff. I always thought it was a little kooky and whatnot. But, after hearing, your testimony from honorable service members, watching videos like my colleague, Mr. Burleson, just presented, I got to admit, I've become a believer. Not that I know where these things come from or, what they really are up to, but I'd like to start with asking the witnesses. Mr. Nuccetelli, you were in the Air Force, right?
Yes.
Did you believe in UFOs prior to your encounter?
I've always been interested.
Okay. Chief Wiggins, you're currently in the Navy, is that correct?
Correct.
Did you believe in UFOs before your encounter?
I did. I'm from Las Vegas, and I've watched George Knapp my whole life.
Okay. What about you, Mr. Borland?
I have always been open to where facts go. So
Were you guys scared or hesitant to come forward and tell your story because of fear and believing that you might be reprimanded or ostracized from society because of your stories? Mr. Nuccetelli?
Yes, absolutely. I probably would not have come forward if I didn't have documentation to prove some of my story. And I also wouldn't have come forward without the people that paved the way for us in, the first congressional hearing. So,
Chief, what about you?
Once I got the okay from the Navy from top down, that gave me a level of relief. Prior to that, I didn't have any thought left or right of that, but thank the Navy to give me the go ahead, and that gave me the relief that I would not have any level of reprisal or anything happen to me.
Mr. Borland, how about you?
absolutely. I mean, after I went through everything, it was pretty clear that I caused a major issue in the executive branch. So I did what I was supposed to do. And that's why I haven't spoken publicly. That's why I'm happy to be here. This is how I wanted this to be done in regards to me.
Mr. Borland, why do you think that you faced reprimand and discipline for your effort to come forward and be transparent about what you saw?
About what I saw is the reason why I got into what I know and has been disclosed to Aero and the IG. And I think that information, well, it was labeled an extremely sensitive national security issue.
Now, what I find interesting about this, the two Air Force guys, the two retired Air Force guys, they seem like they're concerned about this, particularly Borland, right? But so is Nuccetelli. They're concerned about going public with this. But the active Navy guy, right, Wiggins, it seems like he's okay. Like he says he was given the blessing from the top of the chain. So I'm just wondering that. I'm wondering about this now. I mean, is this showing a rift within the different military groups within the Pentagon here? What's going on here? Like, why? It seems like the Navy seems, yeah, go ahead, it's okay, we don't care. That's what it seems like. That's what it sounds like, right, from Wiggins. But of course, from the other two guys, particularly Borland, it sounds like it's the end of the world. You're getting blacklisted. All these bad things are getting fired. Those guys are Air Force. So you have to wonder, is the leadership in the Air Force, they're just more conservative about this? They don't want this information out. They want to maintain the secret more so than the leadership in the Navy. Like, what's going on there? Or maybe I'm just reading into this something that's not there. But I just found it interesting that the two Air Force guys, they have more concerns about becoming whistleblowers, whereas the Navy guy, he doesn't. I just thought that was, strange. And maybe there's something to it. Maybe there isn't. Maybe it just goes to show that there are various points of view throughout the military of the United States. Who knows? I don't know. I just wanted to point it out. But I guess overall, right, after you see this, you listen to these guys, three people talking about their experiences. They actually saw stuff. They actually, all three of them, right, encountered things. Some of them had issues after they told their stories about becoming whistleblowers. One of them did not. But I think all of these things that we saw at this hearing, right, that's what makes this hearing the most significant UFO hearing we've ever had. And I just think it was important to point it out. And so there we are. And I can't wait for the next one now. I'm actually looking forward to another UFO hearing. I mean, after the last, there was a couple of them there that we talked about in the past. They were just like, what are we doing here? What are we wasting our time for? Some of them were more exciting than others. But this one here was definitely the most significant, the most exciting, the most interesting to me. Even more so than the one where David Grush, along with Ryan Graves and David Fravor, that was a really good one too. But I think this one, we had some more evidence. We had that video that Burleson presented showing the object out off the coast of Yemen. We don't have a lot of information on with regard to that yet, but I guess we'll find out. Maybe something we'll find out as time goes on. To me, we're moving in the right direction. And of course, by the end of this hearing, there was a lot of different people who are they're basically telling us that they're sick and tired of the cover up, and they want to get like Burleson saying that He's sick and tired of the cover-up. We need to get this UAP Whistleblower Act passed. We need to get the UAP Disclosure Act passed finally, right? So hopefully we'll see something happen before the end of the year. Or if we don't, then we're going to have to keep trying next year. I just think we need to still keep having these hearings, even though I do believe there would be a way to bring this to an end in one fell swoop. I talked about that in the previous show. I mean, we have proof now. There's no question that there's something here among us. I talk about the Las Vegas alien incident all the time. I'm still investigating that case. I'm always finding some new things to talk about with it. If you looked at some of the previous shows, I mean, there's always something new about it. It never gets old, right? Even a lot of the people that are subscribers to my channel, they say they can never get enough of it. Yeah, how could you get enough of it? How could you get enough of a case where you actually see all the evidence, all the proof is there to educate you, to show you, to let you know for sure that this is a real phenomenon. There's really something here, and that would end the debate. I believe if you have some sort of a hearing, like I indicated in the previous show, if you had some sort of a hearing where you brought the members of the Pentagon into the room and you laid out all the evidence associated with that case, it happened right here on American soil in Las Vegas, Nevada, back in 2023. You're going to tell me, you're the military, you're the guys protecting this country. You're going to tell me you don't know anything about this? You lay out the evidence. I mean, it's clear. There's no wiggling out of this one, like I've been saying. I think if you were to use that in one of these hearings, that evidence, you would put the people in the military in a position where they're forced to finally come clean. That's how I think. I believe that would be what would happen. They would have to. You can't lie your way out of this one. Anyway, I just want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.